Today we're focusing on the JGOD Cataclysm, which a lot of people are saying that this is a conversion kit that turns the RPK into the DMR. And we'll do a little bit of comparison just to reflect of how broken the DMR was compared to this, and kind of what makes this gun in particular broken, because there's always that fine line where something goes from unusable to broken, and this is definitely within that category. Let's say that if your TTK is above a certain threshold, kind of unusable. And then if it's below a certain threshold, that's kind of where the meta tends to sit. And then there's a bunch of viable options within the middle. What ends up happening where you get these broken scenarios, whereas if you miss a shot or something along those lines, the TTK shoots above that red line. And then they're also on the opposite end, if you manage to get that headshot in the mix, get the double chest shot, or things along those lines, then you end up in the green area. So that's how a gun can both be completely useless and broken at the same time, and it's really hard to balance. And a lot of times this comes down to fire rate, or the specific range could be super unforgiving. Like in the case of this RPK conversion kit, the fire rate's only 133. So it gives us a quick look at how the weapon functions. You can see that obviously in Warzone you need a 300 damage to get a kill. So in this particular case, you can get a 2-shot kill pretty often, especially within 64 meters, which is pretty far. And then if you go beyond that, you need double neck shots or above, or a combination of like a neck shot and a body shot. So it is fairly forgiving. If you manage to just hit limbs, like we can see here, you're going to end up with like a 3-shot to kill. But very easily, if you get one head or one neck shot, because 180 plus 144 is over 300. Same thing with the 132, even with this one. So any body limb shot combined with a neck or head shot will give you the 2-shot to kill, which makes it incredibly broken. But you can see the number of shots to kill changes drastically. If you get that 2 shots to kill in the green zone that I was mentioning, that's kind of why I highlighted that before. And then if you don't, then you get a 3-shot to kill, which is kind of well within the line of the meta currently, right around where the STG is sitting. But then if you miss another shot, this jumps up to like 1300 or 1400, which is not good at all, not remotely good. And then it ends up in that red zone. So you kind of end up with a very unforgiving weapon if you're missing shots because of this terribly low fire rate. And just for a quick comparison how broken the DMR was. So as you can see here, the DMR from Warzone 1, that was a Cold War integration. It has significantly better bullet velocity when we were able to put on that titanium barrel or other barrels that actually increase the bullet velocity. The JGOD RPK, or this conversion kit, maxes out 780, and you're heavily restricted in this area because all you can do to impact this is the muzzle. You're not allowed a barrel or an ammunition, which would increase this an insane amount up to the 1,000-ish range, which would make it very powerful and hit scan up to like 50 meters. It's only hit scan up to about 39 meters with this maxed out bullet velocity. The RPM, or the rate of fire, you can see it is drastically different. In this particular case, it is basically triple the fire rate with the DMR that we had. So it was way more forgiving. And then if you build the class out, you end up with completely different ADS. And this is a pretty favorable ADS. It was 100 milliseconds faster back in the day. And we had even better options of ammunition, whereas this is locked at 15. So it is definitely not close to the DMR. I don't think people remember how broken that was, but it is still has that potential to be broken, just way more unforgiving. So once you've gone and completed all those various challenges, you'll be able to just go to the RPK and equip it. And this is kind of the loadout that I've gone with. As you can see, there's no barrel, there's no ammunition. So really the couple things you're solving for are bullet velocity, which we get only pretty much with the muzzle. There are a couple other options, but they'll slow you down significantly. If we go from this one here, which is sonic suppressor, we're getting no ADS penalty. It comes in at 467. ADS speed, which is kind of what we looked at on that chart. Bullet velocity sits at 745, and you are getting a slightly increased range for a little bit more forgiving shots within that 66 meters, which is huge, especially when we're talking about using this on smaller maps like Rebirth Island. You can go a little bit down the road and you can get some of these other ones that will increase the bullet velocity even higher, up to 778 on something like the Polar Fire, but you're going to mess up the ADS speed by like almost 100 milliseconds. So definitely not worth it. You can check it out if you want to see the comparison. Going to be much slower. ADS speed, we also work on it with this Razor Hawk. We're going to go ahead and focus on ADS speed, bring that down. This will make the laser visible, but it's not as big a deal at range, and we're still solving for the ADS speed. We do work on the optic because the other one's just too far zoomed in. And then we get the True Tack grip, which is also helping us with ADS speed. Not much, but there's not a lot of attachments that are going to help us with this. Maybe you go under barrels, that would work in that regard, but there's really not a lot of good options in this category. It's not like it's an SMG where we get those other ones, or an MW3 weapon, which has just way more options and better attachments. RPK unfortunately sits in that category of trash MW2 attachments, which are kind of bad. So pretty much you go in here, you can see 15, and if you fire as fast as possible, you can see it kind of recenters on its own pretty good. You don't have to make much of an adjustment, but the fire rate is very slow, as I mentioned. So you can go from TTKs as low as about 450 up to 900, up to like 1350. So you really got to be aware of where it is. As long as you're aiming at that neck and head, getting at least one of those shots in the mix, you will get a fast TTK. But because of some of its limitations, is nowhere near as broken as the DMR. Let me know your thoughts of this weapon if you already had a chance to try it out. Appreciate all the support. Thank you for watching as always. Have a great day.